Hi, I'm Lee Dahlhauser with 360 Yield Center. This is Barry Moldenhauer with 360. Today we're going to talk about installing 360 tanks on the Case Magnum 240. Before we get started installing the 360 tanks, there are a few things that need to be removed. The weights on the front weight bracket shown removed here. The front fenders shown removed. There's a panel on the back that will need to come off below the stack. Make sure you hold on to the hardware for that. We'll reinstall it when we're completed. There's also a couple lights that may need to come off for clearance purposes that you can put back on. After everything's removed from the case tractor, the first step in installing the tanks is to install the front weight bracket mount. Extra set of hands is handy here, or you could use a forklift to do this. But what happens is this bracket goes on to the casting that the weights come off of. Try to get it centered right off the bat. To help with that, you can throw your 10-inch, 3/4-inch bolt down through. Looks like we got it pretty good. The next step in installing the front weight bracket mount is a bracket that goes underneath. It's a little cumbersome. There are a few parts that have to go together all at once. Just get the 3/4-inch nut started. Next we'll install these horizontal bolts. Get that started. Leave everything loose until we can get all the hardware together. Okay, the first bolt we'll tighten is this center one. And we'll tighten the other two bolts with 15/16. Make sure that the nylock threads are onto the bolt. That's when you know it's tight enough. Once you have the main weight bracket installed, clamped together with the underside bracket, the next thing we'll put on is the outrigger. One thing to know about the outriggers, they're offset about 4 inches. You want to make sure when you're installing that the two flanges are flush at the back of the joint. We install the outriggers and tighten it down with 5/8-inch hardware. Takes a 15/16 socket and wrench. Again, we'll tighten them down with 15/16 tools. Now that we have the front weight bracket mount fully installed, we're going to move around to the side and work on one of the rear mounts. We've already removed the panel below the stack here. A couple other things to note. There are holes in the side of this casting that may have plastic plugs in them. Those will have to be pulled out. They're shown removed here. There is a bolt that we'll reuse on one of the mounts back here for our mount, so that'll come out. And it'll also be helpful to move or turn the tires to the left, give more clearance on the inside. To install the side mount bracket, we need to remove this bolt. There will be a spacer here that comes out, and you can hold on to that. We're not going to reuse it, but there will be another spacer that we use to pick up the rest of the space. Pull this bolt out, and we should be ready to install our main bracket. This is another installation where another set of hands is super helpful. Once you have the side mount plate up there loosely bolted, you can go ahead and tighten it down with a inch 3/16 driver. Once you have the right side mount bracket installed, you can go around to the left side and repeat the process. Now that we have the side mount brackets installed, the next step is to install the rear supports for the tanks. It's easiest to do this with a forklift. They are fairly heavy, so what we do is we strap here in the corner and walk it in with the forklift while another guy is aligning the hole with for the pin. One thing to note, this can swing down once the pin is in, and it'll wait here until we get the other side on and go to the under tractor support. Now that you've got the rear supports installed, they're hanging here loosely. What keeps those upright is this under tractor support. It consists of two pieces. One tube slides inside the other, and you gotta have to have the right dimension to keep those rear supports horizontal. In this case, for the Case 240 Magnum, the measurement is just right at 32 inches. So you find the hole spacing that gets you your 32 inches. Now the hole spacing is either horizontal with the flanges or it's vertical. In this situation, the hole spacing for 32 inches is horizontal, and we'll go ahead and tighten that down. Okay, so we're installing hardware for the under tractor support. It really helps to have an extra set of hands to hold the rear support up so you can get the under tractor support fastened to one side. Then we'll move over and do the other once this side is tightened up. Once you have one side installed, okay, have your helper go to the other side. Okay, you can let it down, JT. We've got the front weight bracket installed, we've got the rear supports installed, we've got the under tractor support installed. Next will be the tanks. The tanks come to you assembled so that they go right onto what you see here, everything we have installed. Best to use a fork truck. They are probably 300, 350 pounds. So we'll get them on the fork truck, we'll get them up there. Prior to doing that though, we strongly recommend that you take care of a couple things on the tanks themselves while they're on the ground. It just makes for an easier install. The sight gauge tubes, there are two of them. One goes on the front and one goes on the rear. Would recommend that you install those, as well as the vent assemblies. Just a lot easier when it's down on the ground to do all that. So with our tanks assembled and ready to go, we're going to go ahead and put them onto the tractor. Okay, once you have the tanks loosely set in place there, it's time to start fastening it down with hardware. So we have U-bolts go across the front, 3 places on each tank, go around the front weight bracket, right through here. And we have some 4.5 inch bolts that go in 5/8 inch diameter that go in the back. We'll take you around to the side while we're installing those. For the U-bolts, because of the brackets here, we use a clipped washer. Fits on inside here between the brackets onto the U-bolt. Leave those loose until we can get them all installed. Okay, once you have the U-bolts installed in the front loosely, next to install these 5/8 inch bolts at the back. There should be 6 of them along the back, and you just tighten them down with the included hardware. Once you have the right side done, you go over to the left side and repeat the same process. If you installed the vent line while the tank was on the ground, you'll have the vent hose to run down the back side of the rear support here. What we like to do is get it over close to the tractor as possible and zip tie it along the rear support. Now that we have the tanks fully installed, all the bolts and hardware tightened down, we're ready to put on the hose assemblies that come standard with your tank system. What it consists of is about a 2-foot piece of 2-inch hose, an elbow, 2 elbows actually, a 2-inch valve, and a bracket. We'll start by working on the right-hand side first. What we'll do is we'll take the seal, put it onto the fitting there on the tank, your clamp, 2-inch V-flange clamp, open enough. What we're going to do is loosely put the clamp on the system, the hose here. Okay, we're going to install the bracket on these 2 bolts using the nylock nut. And be sure to go back and tighten your hose clamp once that's done. We'll repeat this on the left side, and the install of the basic system will be complete. Again, leave this loose enough so you can rotate it. And we'll install these 6-inch bolts through the tube. Fasten with the nylock nut. Tighten down to 3/4 inch tools. At this time, you can now reinstall the cover that goes underneath the stack in the back with the hardware that you kept as you took it off. The standard lines group installed. It concludes the standard tank package, the 360 tanks, onto the Case 240 Magnum. The rest of the plumbing would back to the planter or wherever you're going is up to your discretion.